Welcome to this episode of Eureka. We are going to have a very interesting conversation with a young chemist, Dr. Gouriprasanna Roy from Shiv Nadar University, Delhi. They say to cut a diamond, you need a diamond. To solve the problems that are generated in this modern world, you need more science or not less science. That's going to be the focus of our discussion today with him. Before we proceed into this conversation, let's take a quick look at his profile.
Dr. Gouriprasanna Roy is an assistant professor at Shiv Nadar University. He has extensively worked on heavy metals and anti-thyroid drugs. He is working to discover drugs to detoxify heavy metals. Dr. Roy has been awarded various awards for his work. Notable among them are Excellency Award for his outstanding commitment and dedication at Shiv Nadar University.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us in the show, and we are glad that you have been able to spend time with us.
Thank you so much.
Let me ask a question, let's say, right at the front as a starting point. If I ask you, what are the three aha moments in your life? You know, in three areas in which you did research and then found something very interesting. What would you list them as?
So at Shiv Nadar University, we are working in multiple projects. So particularly detoxification of heavy metals like mercury, lead, arsenic, as well as the copper-1. So because copper-1 also is a very toxic, it produces reactive oxygen species. So I'll talk about this. So mainly mercury, lead, and the copper, as well as the arsenic. So these heavy metals we are working on that.
Okay. You use the word like heavy metals.
Yeah.
And then listed them like, for example, arsenic, mercury, copper, under them. Why heavy metal is a problem? Why does it become a toxic material?
So let's take an example in case of mercury or lead. So these are actually soft acid. And when they goes into the body, these heavy metals, particularly mercury, binds to the sulfur-containing proteins and enzymes, and it damages your protein and enzymes in every tissues. And particularly mercury, it goes into the brain. And mercury is in two different forms: inorganic mercury as well as the organic mercury. And inorganic, this organic mercury, that methyl mercury, is a highly toxic. The reason is that it binds to the endogenous thiol called cysteine. And in our body we have a huge amount of cysteine. Now once it binds to the cysteine, it's formed methyl mercury cysteine. And that methyl mercury cysteine goes into the almost 50% more into the liver and 250% more into the brain. And that's the reason it's a highly neurotoxic. Once it goes into the brain, it damages lot of antioxidant containing enzymes, sulfur or selenium containing enzymes. And that's the reason it is a highly neurotoxic.
Okay. So you are saying some of these heavy metals are mildly acidic, and then
in chemistry term it's called soft acid, and it binds to the soft base that is present in the protein and enzymes. So a lot of enzymes contain cysteine, and also in our body we have a sulfur containing thiols like cysteine, glutathione, other sulfur containing thiols. So it binds to those.
So one of the
thiols.
focus area that you are working is in the area of heavy metal toxicity.
Yes.
Right? I mean, that's where you are trying to find what happens.
Yeah, mainly we are
let's explore this question a bit further, but let's start from the start point. Why does heavy metal become a problem to us? How does it come into our living environment?
Yeah, so I think before, you are right. So I should explain this a little bit more about particularly mercury. So the mercury is a naturally abundant element. So you cannot avoid that. But the thing is that in the environment, it is present in a minerals like cinnabar, metacinnabar. You might have heard that. So they are basically mercury sulfide and mercury selenide materials. And those materials are highly stable. When I say the highly stable, they are melting point is above 500 degrees centigrade, and they are insoluble in water. And because of this nature, and these are less toxic to human. Now, these minerals are not present in the environment in an isolated manner, and they are mixed with the other valuable minerals, like say in case of the coal. So now in today's world, due to this heavy population and industrialization, we need a huge power generation. And for power generation, the thermal, NTPC, that thermal power, coal plants, that we are actually using huge amount of coal, and we are burning the coal in a high temperature, and that's the reason this mercury, this sulfide and selenide, these materials, they are volatilizing and becoming the volatile mercury compounds, inorganic and organic mercury compounds. And these inorganic and organic mercury compounds, they are soluble in water, and they absorb in intestine and goes into your food and also goes into your body, and that's why they are highly toxic. But in general, this mercury sulfide and selenide, they are less toxic to human.
Meaning that if it was in its natural condition, perhaps it will not come into the human environment so much, but then
exactly.
some of the process that you are using.
Exactly, they will not come.
People are also talking about, for example, petrol. I mean, to give a kick, I mean, you add lead to the petrol, and then that's also a major problem. Can you kind of elaborate on that?
Yes, even not only this mercury sulfide or mercury selenide, these minerals are associated with the coal, they are also associated with the other minerals, like when burning the fossil fuels, like the petrol, all this mercury related and the lead related compounds, they are also coming into the environment, and then it's contaminating our groundwater, soil, everything. And that's the reason when they are contaminating, even in the mining areas, you'll see that huge amount of mercury and the lead, and they are not only this groundwater, even the vegetables and the cow milk contain huge amount of mercury and the lead. And the recent studies from the Center of Science and Environment, they found that in those mining areas, the people are really with this mercury, and they are they found that a huge amount of mercury in the blood, in the nail, and the and also in the hair.
So, which means that the current environment, we are very clear, the evidences are very clear that heavy metals come into play and are found in human systems and biological systems.
Exactly.
Which is a threat to us. That's an important point. Now let's come to the question. Like you said that the modern systems create an environment where we are living in a kind of a toxic situation. The heavy metals play a havoc in our biological system. So what exactly you are trying to work on? What's your research question which you are working on?
Yeah, so in case of the mercury, like I said, this mercury sulfide and mercury selenide, they are very stable minerals. So what we are doing in our lab, that we recently synthesized certain type of compounds, they can actually detoxify this methyl mercury or other inorganic mercury. Those are actually toxic to our body, to mercury sulfide and mercury selenide, and those are insoluble material, mercury sulfide and mercury selenide. So we are basically recycling back this volatile mercury into the insoluble mercury sulfide and mercury selenide materials.
So basically the detoxification of heavy metals.
We are detoxifying this volatile, toxic methyl mercury or other organomercurials to the insoluble mercury sulfide and mercury selenide products, and that is less toxic.
Okay. So now when you say that you are trying to work towards detoxification, you are looking at the industrial level?
No, so our main goal is to develop a drug. See, when you have this mercury contamination in your vegetables, now even in the rice, in the mining areas and the groundwater, so there should be some drug that can actually take care. So in our body in general, we have a defense mechanism. So when you have a little bit more heavy metal toxicity, so it produces certain enzymes called metallothionein to capture those metals and detoxify them. So we are now, this is at certain level, but you have a huge mercury toxicity, say in case, or the arsenic toxicity or the lead toxicity. So you should have some drug that can actually detoxify these heavy metals in your body. So we are focusing on the level of the discovery of a drug.
Very interesting. We'll continue this discussion, but we'll have to take a very short break and then we'll continue. We had having a very interesting conversation of how heavy metals create havoc in our life system. And here, the person with whom we are having conversation today, Dr. Gouriprasanna Roy, is working on how to create some drugs which can detoxify these heavy metals. We'll continue this discussion, but we'll take a very short break. Welcome back to this episode of Eureka, and we are having a very interesting conversation with Dr. Gouriprasanna Roy from Shiv Nadar University in Delhi, an accomplished chemist. How did you choose chemistry?
So actually, during my school days, I was not that good in studies. I was actually more interested in playing football rather than studying. But then I studied in my village, in school in my village. So then I got a first class and then 10th class. And then my mom said, better, since you are not studying, so better, you take arts.
Okay.
Not science. So, but then I had something in mind, no, I should take the science, not the arts. So I need to do something also in the studies, apart from playing football. So then I chose actually 10 plus to chemistry as a major subject. And then I moved to Calcutta at St. Paul's Cathedral Mission College. I admitted for chemistry honors. And then I did MSc in University of Calcutta, Rajya Sabha Science College, where I had inorganic chemistry as a specialization. And then I moved to IISc Bangalore, and there actually I joined under Professor G. Mukesh, is a well-known bioinorganic chemist, and under whom actually I work on antithyroid drugs. We developed some antithyroid drugs, sulfur selenium containing, and how these antithyroid drugs work, how they produce a thyroid hormone, and when you have a more production of thyroid hormone, that is called hyperthyroidism. So for hyperthyroidism, we generally use different types of drugs are available in the market, methimazole or carbimazole, but those drugs actually, they are irreversible inhibitors. So if you take long time, so you'll have a several side effects. Okay. So we synthesize certain selenium containing drugs that is not directly interacting with the enzyme that produce the thyroid hormone, rather it's interacting with the other substrates. So we synthesize, we develop some reversible drugs. So where you will have a less side effect. So, and then after that I finished my PhD in 2007. Then I moved to Oregon Health and Science University at Portland, Oregon. And there I work on actually discovery of one thyroid hormone metabolites. So how these thyroid hormone metabolites, when it's produced in a thyroid gland, how it carried and transported in different tissues in your body. And then I moved to Scripps Research Institute, where I worked with a professor, Peter Schultz, and he is one of the famous chemical biologist. So there I work on T cells. So it's a discovery of a molecule which can actually transform naive T cell to regulatory T cells. So I work on those, how we can develop a drug that can actually convert your naive T cell to regulatory T cells, which is actually very useful for treating type 2 diabetes and multiple sclerosis, some other diseases.
Can you explain what this T cell is? I mean, many of our audience viewers may not be well versed in this area, but then to give them an idea, what is this T cell?
So when we generally become sick, we generally say, when normal conversation, we generally say that your immune system is not good.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? So we have a lot of B cell and T cells, and the T cell also, you have two different types of T cells. One is the effector T cells, and one is the regulatory T cells. The effector T cells generally protect our body from outside pathogen.
So if a deadly virus or a germ comes into our body,
kill those viruses.
It is this T cell which goes and actually attacks it.
Attacks those and kill this virus. Now there should be another regulatory T cell that actually control this effector T cells. If there is no control, so what will happen? These effector T cells that will not understand which one is the foreign body and which one is your own body, and then they will start killing your own body, and that's why we will have a lot of autoimmune disease. So I was working on this, how you can generate this regulatory T cell from naive T cells. So we have millions of compounds, and then we can do the high throughput screening to find out a molecule which can actually produce regulatory T cell from naive T cell, and that will be useful for treating those autoimmune diseases.
So basically a cutting edge kind of work. Exactly. Where you can create the regulatory T cells which can control the effective T cells, so that it doesn't kill itself.
Exactly.
That's the kind of work that you are doing. It's a very interesting work. After finishing your postdocs in many places, you came back to India, right? So where did you join? And
yeah, so when I was working at Scripps Research Institute under Professor Peter Souls, so I was looking for an opportunity to come back to India, and then I suddenly one day actually I got an email from our current VC, Professor Pomanji Ghosh, that she was actually in JNU for 25 years, and I met her when I visited India earlier. So suddenly I got an email from her that she is moving to SNU as a director. Now she is VC, and she promised me actually that if I join here, definitely I'll get a opportunity for research. But I know that I have a little knowledge in the inorganic chemistry, and I never worked with the metal earlier. So I thought to do something with whatever the limited facilities I have in my hand, and then with the definitely hard work. And my team, they are really excellent. Whatever, I have my 5 PhD students, and they are really excellent. And some of the facilities that we are getting in JNU, so they have a central instrument facilities, and also sometimes in the other places, my students goes and get those facilities. But now we have many facilities in the universities, so things are moving well right now.
Interesting.
But that was not the case in the earlier.
Take a small break now, but we're having a very interesting conversation. We'll continue this, but then don't go away. We'll take a very short break, and we'll come back and have this very interesting conversation with Dr. Gouriprasanna Roy, who is with Shiv Nadar University in Delhi in working in chemistry. We'll be having interesting conversation. Don't go away. Welcome back to this episode of Eureka, and we are having a very interesting conversation with Dr. Gouriprasanna Roy from Shiv Nadar University in Delhi. He is currently working on heavy metal toxicity and how to control and mitigate problems resulting out of it. Let me ask a question. In general, when you go out, talk to people on the street, the moment you say, for example, my food is having chemical, the common perception is that, oh, it's bad, it's toxic. The word chemical is today largely associated with danger, toxic, something to be avoided. As a chemist, how do you react to this popular perception?
Yeah, you are right, because I have a son, 5 years old, and he's telling, Papa, what do you do in lab? I said, I generally guide my students, and they synthesize some compound, chemical. Chemical, it's a danger. But it's not that, see, whatever food you eat, everything is chemical. And food, once it goes into the body, it produces glucose, and that is also chemical. The sugar, whatever we take, that is also chemical. It's not that everything, whatever is a chemical. But without chemistry, you can't survive. In your body, whatever you think about, water or the protein, enzymes, all are made of the chemistry only. So the carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen is there. So you can't avoid the chemistry. So it's not that chemical means it's a bad. Definitely there are bad chemical and the good chemicals. Whichever is the toxic to humans, those are definitely bad, but not everything.
Your work on heavy metals show it is not less of chemistry, but more of chemistry, which will enable human population, human society, human civilization to face these challenges. What do you feel on this issue?
As a researcher, we need to find out the solution, the problems that we have in the society, and we need to solve based on whatever the knowledge we have. As a chemist, I try to find out the problems, that whatever the problems we had, and from my limited knowledge that we have, that how I can solve those problems. Like in this case, the toxicity of these heavy metals.
Autism is on rise, and research reports tell that it's possibly because of heavy metal pollution in our environment. What is your take on that?
Yeah, so nowadays actually this autism or autism spectrum disorder, and this is rising, and a lot of children, they are actually affected in this disease because the children, the brain development takes place early stage.
So you mean to say that all the autism are a result of heavy metal contamination?
No, it is not. It's it's a very complicated thing. It's a combination of the genetic factors as well as the environmental factors.
Okay.
And there is a substantial link between these environmental factors and the autism. And due to this mercury or heavy metal exposure, and a lot of children are affected nowadays. And this autism generally characterized by impaired this social interaction, social communication problem, and as well as have a repetitive behavior, some stereotype mannerism and repetitive behavior. And this mercury generally, when it exposed, you exposed to the mercury, it actually affects your brain, and it affects your immune systems, and symptoms associated with the mercury toxicity is also similar sort of this autism. So there is a substantial link between this heavy metal toxicity or exposed to the heavy metals and the autism as well. And in India nowadays, there is a report that almost 10 million children are suffering from this autism.
Okay.
I'm sure this is much more because we don't have substantial amount of this record. So that may be,
and particularly because that's when the brain is developing, and then that's when the pollution is there, the heavy metal contamination is there, it actually affects the formation of brain. Is that right?
It can be a direct exposed to the heavy metals, or it can translate from mother.
Okay, the fetal
fetus. Yeah, so it can be also affected during that time also, the fetus. Okay. So it can be both ways.
So it's an important challenge that I think today we need to face.
Exactly, and nowadays the groundwater and also these vegetables, those mining areas, is contain huge amount of heavy metals, and that is generally definitely affect the children.
When we are in the beginning of 21st century, in the first decade of 21st century, what do you think are the major challenges before chemistry?
I actually personally work on chemistry and biology and the drug discovery field. So definitely I know in this field you have many challenges. Like take an example for this case, and you will not find any drug is known so far that can detoxify these heavy metals. If you have say copper 1 related problem, like if you have a more overload of the copper in the liver, that can lead to the Wilson disease. And some metal-related other diseases like Parkinson disease, all those cases, still we do not have knowledge how they are, the mechanism, how these metals are actually binding and inhibiting our enzymes, and if you don't know the mechanism, so how will solve those problems? So this is a real challenge to us, that to discover a molecule or a drug that can solve these heavy metal related problems. And there are many they are definitely in the other fields. So this is a real challenge that we have at this moment.
It's interesting. We are having a very interesting conversation with you about your work related to heavy metal and heavy metal contamination, and how do you remove that heavy metal. That's your current interest. Thank you for being with us, and then we have a very interesting and illuminating conversation with you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being with us in the show.
Thank you.